I will have you know that this is a whole lot to say in 2 to 3 minutes, Mr. Nichols. I'm just saying. So I had to start off with that. My name is Alexandra, and I chose the topic causes of school shootings and possible solutions. I chose this topic because school shootings are becoming more common, and we already have a lot of preventative measures put in place in most schools. Nowadays, we do drills and things like that, but we aren't focusing on the problem that actually causes these things to actually happen, causes kids to want to go shoot up their school. So, my thesis is, though mental health is a factor in the occurrence of school shootings, I believe that the therapy and behavioral health solutions should be a preventative measure before a kid decides to go do what he does and take things into their own hands. I found a lot of articles that I can base this evidence off of, but not so much for my theory, just because it's my own personal theory, and that's kind of why I wrote the paper. Ash and Saunders wrote an article called From I Don't Like Mondays to Pumped Up Kicks, Rampage School Shootings in Young Adult Fiction and Young Adult Lives. This article was basically written about 12 different books and songs, types of literature, discussing different school shootings and the suspected causes behind each one. It actually mentions Stephen King's book called Rage in their article, and how it was pulled from the shelves because certain, I can't remember exactly which ones, but off the top of my head, but certain school shooters mentioned that book in their journals of why they chose to do what they did. Another one is written by Mary Fun, which is actually a professor at UW, which is School of Law in Washington. It aims its focus on the opposing side of the other articles that I selected by analyzing data from multiple situations and discussing how different types of gun violence are categorized as either ordinary or extraordinary. And that was pretty interesting. Another one called from Katsianis, Whitford, and Ennis is a historical examination of United States intentional mass shootings in the 20th and 21st centuries and implications for students, schools, and society, which is a journal written in Journal of Child and Family Studies. They consider data gathered from the last 2 centuries in which intentional mass shootings have become more recurrent than any other period in history in the United States. Basically, they examine each one, the breakdown, the details of each. So that was really good information, really good evidence for me to base part of my correlational study off of it. The next article was by McQuiller. He's his own person who wrote it by himself. It was called Enough It Is Enough, and it's about the congressional solutions to curb gun violence in America's K-12 schools. It was written in the DePaul Journal for Social Justice. It's a 21-page article, but it was basically, namely about the main changes made by Congress since Columbine to modify and expand gun laws to help curb violence in schools. He uses a lot of examples of mass shootings in specific laws that were written, but then talks about how certain laws that we want to be written can't be because they violate rights of other laws. And then finally, Whaley, he explains the commonality of school shootings and uses the term massacre mentality, which basically is, he describes as a state of mind in which the individual feels justified in committing indiscriminate killings in defense of honor. He expands on different types of violence, how each differs in its main cause, briefly discusses mental illness in certain cases, and then explains that culture has a large influence on the psychopathology, which contributes to the commonality that is gun violence in schools. So basically, my theory is, though mental health is a factor in school shootings, bullying and things like that, the main cause is the fact that we don't focus on preventing the problem before it actually happens. We need to implement better strategies in school. Counselors need to be actual counselors, and That's basically my theory. Sorry, the video is super long. Told you it was really hard to do it in 2 to 3 minutes. So, I tried. Y'all have a good night.